All right, welcome back to The Hill. Across the country, violent crime is dropping in many major American cities. The Wall Street Journal, for example, reports that this is a reversal from pandemic-era highs, with the U.S. potentially on pace for a reduction we haven't seen in a decade. So what's happening, and how is it being felt all across the country? Stirewalt is here to break it all down. Chris?
So you know how Joe Biden likes to say he created 15 million jobs, or he's going to create 15 million jobs. You know the best way to create 15 million jobs is to destroy 20 million jobs in 1 month, which is what happened in the American economy in 2020. So we should remember as we talk about these things that these great improvements are a result of astonishing spikes in the crime rate in the United States that took place in 2020 and 2021. But here's your first magical statistic. 2024 versus 2020, 20% drop in murders in spread out across 133 cities. This is looking just at the first quarter of this year compared to last year. And look at some of the cities where you see Columbus, Ohio, San Antonio, Texas, Las Vegas, Nevada, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Huge decreases. So there's the number of murders on one side and the percentage decrease from the year before. These are substantial declines. Now, in the spirit of full disclosure, it doesn't work everywhere. In some places, they got problems, right? Louisville is particularly bad. St. Louis and Atlanta continue to be bad. And Albuquerque on the list too. But nationally, it's good. Nationally, the crime story is good nationally. And here's what I want you to think about. So we took these numbers, and it wasn't just on murders. It was on all sorts of crime, but it was also on overdose deaths, it was on traffic fatalities, it was on negative interactions on airplanes, people being detained on airplanes. During the pandemic, we kind of lost our minds, right? Things got very, very crazy in these United States. We also know that part of the story is that after the police brutality protests of 2020, police departments in a lot of parts of the country stepped back and criminals took the opportunity. But my point to you and my encouragement to you is that we should take the win, right? This is good, and we should give ourselves a little bit of credit here because 2 years in the history of a giant continent-spanning 333 million person country is not very long. So we are getting over it with many of these bad things that we had during the pandemic, and we can be grateful for that.
Yes, we can. Stirewalt breaks it down. It's interesting that you related it to the economy off the top, because I say all the time, like, with all these economic numbers during the pandemic, you can't
compared to what? Yeah.
Compared to what? Right? Like, it was awful. And so, you know, with these numbers, you're saying at least just take the win because obviously things were skewed during the pandemic, but
so what it looks like, and I looked today at a host of trends, and it looks like we're going back. We had big problems prior to the pandemic, but we saw all of those problems intensify, and people just sort of went crazy. And we are getting back to a much better place on a lot of these questions, and that's okay. That's good for us to say, and it's okay to not say that everything is a catastrophe.
But it does feel like the economy because you see the numbers, but you don't feel the impact. And I think that's what people are experiencing is the reality of where the two places that I live, which sadly did not make that cut of improving, D.C. and San Francisco. I mean, all you hear is about the crime. So while we may not be murdered violently, guess what? We can't receive Amazon packages because they're stolen. Our cars can't be parked because they're broken into. And guess what? Here in D.C., our own Congressman Claire, who we're going to have up next, actually had his car jacked, as did Naomi Biden.
D.C. finally had some improvement. D.C. was lagged the improvement in the rest of the country, but this year D.C. is finally having some improvement. And another problem here is disorder. So when we saw there is, if we still have it, about how people feel about crime, that it's a very serious problem, these Gallup numbers. People do feel that crime is a serious problem. And it's because of the disorder. All you have to do is walk from here to Union Station, and you see transients, and you see people who are unwell, and you see a lot of urban chaos around you, and it leads to the feeling of unsafe.
Real quick, Chris, the only exception I would take to your reporting is the idea that anecdotally the police stepped back after George Floyd. I don't know whether there's a measure for that or not, but George Floyd should have made the police more vigilant in doing their jobs better and more appropriately. I read the report, and that's a bit disturbing because I hope the police in Men in Blue didn't do that.
In the District of Columbia, we are sorting out some very interesting politics right now around this very issue.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.